Are you an Amazon seller that's freaking out right now? Well, time to calm down. Everything's okay. Tariffs come, tariffs go. Let's talk about what to do. For starters, brands that freak out, that leave Amazon, are the ones that are really going to get punished from this. Brands that are adaptable and use this moment to their advantage will gain significantly more market share, and in 2-3 years from now, will be really thankful for this experience. Why is that? Let me walk you through it. I just recorded this video the other day, but things are changing so rapidly, I wanted to keep you up to date and walk you through the latest trends. The latest tariffs right now are at 145%. Probably by the time you're watching this, they're going to go up drastically. Wouldn't surprise me by then if they're at 500% with the rate things are going. That being said, this is now only on China. In my last video, I walked through the rates on Vietnam, Cambodia, etc. Right? We saw European Union rates were at 20%, Vietnam 46%, Cambodia 49%, and so on. You can see the list here. Now, this is temporary for the next 90 days, while other countries have the chance to negotiate with Trump. But as of now, for the next 90 days, every single country other than China has 10%. You can see here it says 125%. That's because this is changing on the dime. That's outdated. It's actually at 145% right now. But as opposed to waiting 90 days and crossing your fingers and potentially getting screwed, let's plan ahead. It is really important to plan right now in order to ensure that if you are sourcing products from Asia, particularly China, that we don't have a massive hit on our margins, on our cash flow, and our long-term viability. So, for those of you that don't know what tariffs are, it's essentially a tax on goods. Said pretty simply, if you have a 145% tariff on a product that's $20, you're now paying an extra $29, meaning not including freight, you're essentially spending $49 on the product. That's obviously a huge hit if you have a product that's cheap with a small margin. There's no backdoor, there's no workaround. Don't try and go to the dock and bribe someone in customs. It's not going to work. There used to be loopholes such as the $800 exemption if you had a small parcel shipment that you sent in, no longer viable. So, what do we do? A few things. For starters, from an emotional perspective, think like a stock investor. Don't freak out. Don't be the person that when the stock dips, you panic and you sell. And the person that when the stock goes up, you start freaking out, I should have bought more, and you put all your money into it. That is not a smart way of investing. And when you're running your business, you want to operate in a similar functionality. Right now, there are a lot of brands that are going to be leaving the Amazon ecosystem. 50% of Amazon sellers are actually Chinese sellers. All of their prices are going to go up by at least 50%. So for starters, one good part, a silver lining, is that if you have cheap competitors that are knocking off your product straight from China, they're going to be immensely impacted. Okay, that's one win there. That being said, if you plan ahead, right, and you're thinking, not how are we going to do this quarter, but where are we going to be in 2-3 years from now, you can use this opportunity to get significantly more market share. Now, this is the moment where you get to buy the dip. Don't hyper-focus on profitability at this moment in time for the next 90 days. Let's set ourselves up for success, but let's not be in panic mode and run away from Amazon because that's not going to get you anywhere. Now, we don't want to ditch our Chinese supplier. We don't want to burn bridges. We want to have a China plus one strategy. So before we do anything, start negotiating with your supplier. They know how difficult this is for you and ask for a 50-50 split. So for example, with the 145% tariffs, if you're spending $6, ask your manufacturer to cover $3 of it. They may do it, they may not, but it's a good starting point. And for a lot of our clients, we're seeing manufacturers that are willing to take a percentage off in order to save a long-term relationship because they know this is a temporary hit. Okay, next, modify your materials. Why? If you ask your factory for a bill of materials, you will get a breakdown on all of the materials that your product is made up of. Now from here, why would you do this? Every single product that goes to customs is taxed differently. If I'm selling shoes or I'm selling a shirt, depending on the materials, I will have a different tax bracket. So, for example, if you just change from cotton to polyester or aluminum to steel, you will be in a different tax bracket and you will pay way less in your import duty taxes. So, ask your supplier for a bill of materials ASAP. Also, ask them what are other US brands doing in order to reduce their duties. Okay. Let's also ask your supplier if they have a factory outside of China, right? Back to the China plus one practice that we want to get into. Keep your Chinese manufacturer, but it's possible tariffs in China aren't going to go down anytime soon. This could be the status quo for the next 6 months, 8 months, who knows? Now, we need to wait for the dust to settle at this moment in time before knowing anything with certainty. But we can plan ahead. And we know that countries like Vietnam, Cambodia, Indonesia, all of them currently have 10% tariffs. Let's start finding manufacturers in all of those countries, right? If we find potential manufacturers in 10 different countries right now, we will be setting ourselves up for success so that when the dust settles and we know each country what their new tariff rate is, we already have a sample in hand and we have a manufacturer that we're ready to produce with. Next question is, how do you go about finding a supplier? Isn't that difficult? No, it's actually not. There's a tool called Import Yeti, right? I'll open up another tab, go to Import Yeti. Why is this helpful? So in Import Yeti, you can search any brand. We'll use Nike as an example, right? I can click on Nike USA and you can really quickly see, wow, this past year, Nike sent out 137,062 shipments. Now, the cool thing is we can see who their suppliers are, right? So whether I want to search for a product and I want to search for where are they getting their shirts from, right? I can see they have a manufacturer in Guatemala. Their name is Hoosier Manufacturing. I can see they have a manufacturer in Thailand, Nice Apparel. They also have a manufacturer in Vietnam, Regent Garment Factory. If I'm manufacturing shirts, I now can hit up a factory in Guatemala, Thailand, and Vietnam, right? Get 3 new manufacturers so that when the dust settles and we figure out what is the country with the cheapest tariffs that's going to give us the most success, we already have samples in hand and we're already ready to hit the ground running. Instead of looking for a product, you can also look at specific countries. Maybe I say I need a manufacturer in Cambodia. Cool. Click on Cambodia, scroll down, and what do we see? Cool. Olive Apparel Cambodia, right? You can Google this company, you can look them up on Alibaba, but right away, you can use the same manufacturer as Nike. Now, you don't need to use Nike. This works for any category. But please, 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 for the love of God, you have 3 months to set yourself straight, right? Trump just gave you a gift with this 90-day warning. Please, please, please take this really seriously. Your business really does rely on this moment. So, other things, HTS codes. This is essentially the legal bucket that your product falls into from a tax perspective, right? So, we talked about changing materials. The reason for changing materials is that the actual HTS code that you will have will change based off of whatever materials your product is utilizing. Now, here's the trick. An HTS just stands for a harmonized tariff schedule, right? Now, this is a 10-digit number, and this, as we talked about, will just differentiate. If you're selling from China, it doesn't necessarily mean you're going to pay 145% taxes, right? Each category differences. Each category has a slight difference. So, the trick is many products can fit under one HTS code. So if we go back to over here in Import Yeti, we can see all the HTS codes that Nike is utilizing, right? This gives us the ability, and you can see they're sending a lot of products, so they have a bunch of different HTS codes here that they are utilizing. Here we can get an understanding on what are the best HTS codes that we should be underneath. You best believe Nike has a massive legal team that is ensuring that they are making the smartest strategic decisions when it comes to their HTS code. If you need help with that, we're here to help you as well. But, with ChatGPT, it's not that difficult to figure out on your own. If you choose the wrong HTS code, you may be paying 10 to 30% more in a duty tax than you should be. That's obviously a huge problem. You can also just go to hts.usitc.gov in order to get information straight from the government and figure out what HTS code does your product fall into, right? You can go in here and you can search shirts, and quickly you can figure out, depending on the materials, what are all of the different potential HTS codes. You can also just ask your factory. I'm sure they'll really quickly have that information for you. We talked about in the last video, knowing your landed cost. This is obviously important. You can see that in this video up above over here. I'm not going to review that. I'm going to skip through these slides real quick. The last thing, and this stands really important, figure out what is the best country to launch into right now. Why is it so important to go global? Because these taxes are on goods that are sent to the US. If you are selling in Canada, it is not taxed as long as the goods don't go to the US. If you are selling in Japan, it is not taxed. It doesn't matter where the product is manufactured. So yes, even for massive brands that we work with that are doing $100 million plus a year, the US is going to be the biggest market. But right now, it is important to hedge your bets. What do I mean by that? Start launching your product in other marketplaces so that you can gain market share in other markets and ensure that you're paying less taxes on those sales. You can often just use the same product, the same images, and the same branding. So, Amazon Canada. This is our go-to option because you can test it out with the NARF program, right? This is the North America Remote Fulfillment Program. Essentially, even just with your goods already in your US Seller Central, you can test out the Canada market, and Amazon will ship goods straight from the US to Canada on your behalf. If you see that you are getting sales there, it is a sign we should launch in Canada. And, while shipping will be more expensive to go straight from Vietnam, Cambodia, or even China, right? If you are manufacturing in China still, even though shipping will be more expensive to get from those countries to Canada than to the US, it will still be less than the new tariffs that are in play. Canada is the easiest international market to go into, due to the fact that it's the same language. Customer buyer is, pretty synonymous to the US, and there's way less competition. The next is Amazon UK, right? The UK is really important because it is the largest English-speaking Amazon market outside of the US. English-speaking is important because, once again, lowest barrier to entry. You don't need to translate everything in order to get it onto a new listing, right? You carry everything over, and when you go global, all of your reviews can carry over to the other marketplace as well, if you do it in a tactful, intentional way while utilizing Amazon's customer support. Now, when launching in the UK or the European Union, there are legal restrictions. You need to have VAT numbers, and it can be a pretty lengthy, legal, bureaucratic process. So do your homework, but know that's a part of the equation. It can be a little difficult. That being said, now's a difficult time for all of us. So we have to learn to do new things. Amazon, Germany, and also all of the EU. Why are we calling out Germany? This is the number one market in Europe. It is incredible entry point for European expansion, right? You'll need to register for the Pan EU FBA. This gives you access to sell in Spain, France, Italy, and the Netherlands, all in one inventory pool, right? Margins are excellent here. Retail pricing is excellent here. Now, duties and VAT will vary. That being said, once again, just want to remind you, a little bit of an arduous process, but worthwhile to do at this time. Amazon Japan, similar as well. This is the number one market in Europe, right? Same concept. You need to do Pan EU FBA, and margins are pretty good here because it is a way less saturated ad space. So your cost per clicks are going to be significantly lower. Now, I threw out a lot at you. If you're only going to take one thing from this video, you have 90 days right now, and it is crunch time. Please go to Import Yeti ASAP. Find who your biggest competitor is. Figure out what are 10 countries in Asia that we can start manufacturing in and get samples in your hand within the next month, right? We're talking Vietnam, Cambodia, Bangladesh, India, the list goes on, right? Depending on if you're selling electronics or if you're selling, articles of clothing, obviously the country will differ. We don't know when the dust will settle, which country is going to have the best tax rate. But what I can promise you is there will be one winner. There will be one saving grace. The fact that Trump put out a warning and basically said, countries, you have 90 days to negotiate with us. You best believe there's going to be one, two, three countries that are going to make Trump happy and they will be rewarded. Set yourself up for success today and also take a deep breath. Stop panicking. It's going to be all right. We're going to get through this. Let's crush it.